I'd like to welcome into the live stream Tom Blair. Come on in, Tom. Jump in.
Hello. Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Awesome. Thank you,
Tom.
Jeremy.
A little bit better situation this week than last week with all the snow. So the weather's looking good this week, and hopefully we're done with all the snow and ice here in Missouri.
That would be great. We have lots of other things we'd rather be working on than fighting winter weather on the roadways.
All right. Well, Tom, if we'll go ahead and get right into your presentation. So let's get to it.
All right. Well, thank you, Jeremy Bennett. And I want to thank Chris Davis, Leah Bellman, Stacy Brockmeyer, the entire site improvement staff that have allowed MoDOT this opportunity to provide a little bit of overview and update from the MoDOT presence, specifically focused in St. Louis. So again, you have that opportunity with the comments feature. So hopefully you guys will get some engagement going on here too. I don't want to be the only one talking. I hope you can see my presentation and that great picture that we were able to capture on I-70 near Lambert Airport. So I want to start off by first giving you a little, reminding you, if you already know, but if you don't, MoDOT is responsible for state highways statewide, but today I'm mainly focused on the St. Louis district. The St. Louis district comprises of the 4 counties and the city of St. Louis, state-owned roads in that. Now, we are the smallest geographical MoDOT district in the entire state, but we do have a third of the Missouri's population. Now, we have 1,600 lane miles, center line miles of Missouri roadway here in the St. Louis region that our team is responsible for. But a center line mile is sort of not the way we like to think of roads here in the St. Louis region because our roads are pretty wide. So if you think of I-270 in St. Louis, that's about 35 center line miles from the river in North County to the river in South County. But if you look at it from a lane mile, lane by lane by lane, it's at some points 10 lanes wide. So one centerline mile would equal 10 lane miles in that example. So when you look at that, I-270 is hundreds of lane miles, not 35 centerline miles. So we have over 6,000 lane miles of roads. And those roads in the St. Louis region are the most heavily traveled roads in the entire state. We are also, although we're geographically the smallest, we have a third of the population. We have 6,000 lane miles. We are also home to a lot of bridges, state-owned bridges. Bridges are a big deal in the St. Louis region where we have 2 of the largest rivers that converge here. MoDOT has approximately 10% of all of Missouri's 10,000 bridges. So over 1,000 bridges. We have approximately 58 of the bridges that are major, over 1,000 feet long. We have 21 million square feet of Missouri bridges right here in St. Louis. Square footage of bridge deck, 21 million square feet, or about 25% of Missouri's bridge deck. Moving on, a little bit about our team. So our team, we are authorized over 700 employees in the St. Louis region. At this moment in time, as of earlier this month, or January, we had 683 full-time employees. We're always hiring. That's why I tell everybody there's always positions in the St. Louis team that we're trying to fill. And our team is a diverse team. So we have a pretty diverse team. We have 23% right now minorities and 18% female. We seem to be there. I keep trying to get it more, but we haven't gotten much over that over the last few years. On average, we have about a 16% turnover rate. That's, as you all run your companies, that's too high. If you reflect on what your company turnover rate, I would bet you it's probably lower than 16%. So we lose about 100 employees per year, every year. And 2020, even with the pandemic, was no different for our team. I want to tell you a little bit about our operations. So in St. Louis, before I get to projects, because I know everybody wants to talk about projects, I want to focus a little bit on operations. So as you see here, some pictures of the snow and the trash and stuff that we do. Our team, 2/3 of our team is focused on maintaining and operating the system with their own hard work. So if I look back at the last winter, we had 12 events. We used about 27,000 tons of salts. We spent nearly $8 million in the St. Louis region alone, MoDOT did, with winter operations last year. Pothole repairs, about $1.5 million of money that we spent paying our salaries, our trucks, all our costs. And then mowing and litter removal are often a big conversation in the St. Louis region. We spent about $5 million if you look at the mowing that we did, the litter removal that we did, and then also adding in the contracted mowing and litter removal that we do, which, by the way, there's a lot of opportunities for site members out there to bid in the contracted mowing and litter removal, we often only have 2 to 3 bidders. So in that arena. So if you want to get into that, look into it, let me know. So I want to focus on some of these often overlooked operations today. So you can call MoDOT, and I'll give you the number, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And many people do call us, and many of those calls do report in things that we need to know and we need to address immediately. So we call those priority one call reports or call to action. So St. Louis leads the entire state. We had 5,500 calls to action in 2020. So that would be such as a down stop sign you see in the picture. We also do our own utility locates. We are part of Dig Right when you call, but we have our own employees that do that, and we completed nearly 21,000 utility locates. So those are the wires and stuff often underground that feed our traffic signals and stuff that we put there. We are responsible for. We do striping, so lots of striping. So you can see some of the quantities of striping there, and then we do sweeping. So nearly $1 million spent last year alone on sweeping our roadways. If I look at our bridges, again, I mentioned we have over 1,100 bridges, 58 large bridges, over 1,000 feet long. I am really proud in this arena at the progress we've made in the last 5 to 10 years. Look at this. We have 96% of our bridges that the state of Missouri owns in the St. Louis region, and many of them are very big bridges that are in fair to good condition. So that's really a great accomplishment. It doesn't happen by itself. We're constantly investing in the bridges. As you can see in the background picture here, this is a Blanchette Bridge when we were doing some of the work, contracted work on that this past year in 2020. Now, we do have our own bridge crew. It's around 30 people, and we're currently about 45% understaffed. And if any of you have your skilled trades people that work for you, you know how difficult it is to find these individuals and then to get them up to the skill that they can do the work. So we're always seeking bridge maintenance workers for MoDOT, it seems like. But even though we're 45% understaffed, our team, MoDOT team, sealed almost 2 million square feet of bridge deck, about 8 to 10% of the bridge deck that we're responsible for in the St. Louis region. And we repaired 12,000 square feet of bridge deck in 2020. Big accomplishments for us. If I move on to our Transportation Management Center, you may have seen it back in the day before COVID when we could all meet places. You may have been there for a meeting, or you may have seen it on TV. We often do our TV interviews outside the Transportation Management Center located at the interchange of 141 and I-64. That Transportation Management Center is open 24 hours a day. We take statewide phone calls all day, but definitely on nights and weekends when the rest of MoDOT statewide largely goes home. Our Transportation Management Center here in St. Louis takes all statewide phone calls nights and weekends. We answered the phone 93,000 times in 2020. Of those calls, about 20,000 of those resulted in calls. We call them call reports, but basically call to action. So that our team had to go out and do something. So reporting a pothole, down stop sign. Now at the Transportation Management Center, when they're working 24/7, they're also managing our work zones. You might say, well, and we had over 3,100. What do? They change the dynamic message signs. They constantly keep our traveler information map, which you can get the app or you can get on our MoDOT.org website, up to date in an effort to keep everyone informed and keep everyone safe in our work zones. They also manage our emergency response or motorist assist. And in 2020, we had 27,000 plus assists where there's some incident occurred and we responded. Our TMC not only interacts with our motor assist operators, but also with Missouri Highway Patrol, local law enforcement. Sometimes if it gets big enough, Missouri State Emergency Management or Illinois State Emergency Management, if it's a big enough impact. And we have many, many devices from traffic signals to roadside dynamic message signs to pan-tilt zoom cameras that our Transportation Management Center operates 24 hours a day. This is just a quick map to show you. I can't do it all myself, so this is one snapshot of a few of our team members. We have these area contacts, area engineers. In North St. Louis County, you have Bethany Williams. In St. Charles County, you have Andy Turek. In Jefferson Franklin County, you have Stephen O'Connor. And in Southwest St. Louis County, we have Ryan Piercy. And then our newest area contact area engineer is Jennifer Wade. She is responsible for MoDOT in St. Louis City. I put them up here and I just let you focus on them for a minute because if you have work going on in that area, if you have any concerns in that area, these are like miniature versions of me. I often refer to these individuals, and I held this job for almost a decade myself years ago. These are almost like secretaries of transportation, especially for those local leaders in those different parts of the area. When the doors close in MoDOT, I'm looking at these individuals to say, how are we doing internally and how are we doing externally within each one of these regions? When I meet many of you, I'll ask you, do you know who's your MoDOT contact? And I'm always interested to see if they're doing their job, because they should be your contact if you're focused on one specific area of St. Louis. All right. We produce a citizen's guide for transportation funding in the state of Missouri. It is on our MoDOT.org website. The sixth version, 6 years in a row now, this is the sixth version. We publicized that in late 2020, so you can go there and review that. It really helps everybody understand where the money comes from, where the money goes. I just want to take out a few highlights from that. Again, the entire document's on MoDOT.org. This is the famous graph that shows up every year. What you see here is a horizontal line that shows that in fiscal 2020, there was 2.9, if I round up, $2.9 billion available for transportation in the state of Missouri. Above the line, you see where the money comes from. Below the line, you see where the money is distributed to. So if I look above the line first, and you have the colors. So red is a state proceed, and yellow is a state proceed, and blue is federal fuel tax. So the size, of course, is bigger if it's more money. So in fiscal 2020, there was $1.6 billion in state fuel tax, $1 billion in federal fuel tax, and then we have some bond proceeds where we borrowed money, and then we have some general revenue, $69 million of general revenue, often income tax. And then that money goes out, as you see below line, to the cities. You see the amount there of $362 million to other state agencies, such as paying for the Highway Patrol or Department of Revenue license bureau offices. Our debt payments on some of those bond proceeds. The big bucket there is MoDOT. We have $1.92 billion that was available to us in all those different funding sources. And then multimodal, which is often going to our airports in the state of Missouri, our water ports, and some to our public transit, which takes many forms throughout our various states. Another graphic I like to point to from the Citizens Guide is this one. And this shows that we have the 7th largest state-owned transportation system in the entire country. We are ranked 9th in condition of that system, of that infrastructure. So that's pretty good. We have a large system and we're in pretty good condition, but unfortunately we are 45th nationally in revenue spent per mile. We're near the bottom in revenue. Now let's look at that a little bit deeper. Again, this is just another graphic from the Citizens Guide. The entire Citizens Guide's on MoDOT.org. I encourage you, if you're interested, to look at that. But this shows in the center here, of course, you see Missouri, and you see our fuel tax, our gas tax and diesel tax at 17 cents per gallon. No matter what the price at the pump is, that's what your tax on that is. And you see the fact that we have 33,000 plus miles of state-owned roads. You see all 8 surrounding states around us have a higher fuel tax than we do. I like to really focus, though, with our short time together today on Illinois. They have half the state system at around 16,000 miles of state-owned roads in the state of Illinois. Their fuel tax is over twice as much at 38 cents, almost 39 cents per gallon versus 17 cents. Their diesel tax is now 46 cents versus our 17 cents. So they have significantly more dollars and significantly less miles to take care of. It's just a fact, and I have a lot of great friends that I work with on a regular basis at Illinois DOT. We partner on a lot of projects. It's just a fact that they have access to more revenue than the state of Missouri does for transportation. Again, there's lots of great information in the Citizens Guide. I encourage you to go to that. Let's dive into the projects. I know many of you care a lot about the projects that we're doing out there, and many of you site members are actively competing and working on our projects. So this is a cycle we go through. We're now in January through April, and this is how we plan and ultimately get to those projects. So right now we are in the final process of updating our 5-year road and bridge program. We will submit that to our headquarters, and ultimately that will become open for public comments in May through July. And by the July Missouri Highway Commission meeting, we would hope that they'll approve the 5-year program worth of projects. Again, that 5-year program, that statewide transportation improvements program, is available on our website. So you can see the last version of it, and you'll soon be able to see in May the version that we have all worked on statewide. And again, remember, MoDOT St. Louis gets about a third, traditionally gets around a third of the money that MoDOT has access to. Now you go into July and September, that's the best time for us to really inspect the condition of our assets, our pavement, our bridges and everything. So it gives us a chance to sort of resharpen our facts to see how are we doing at taking care of Missouri's transportation system. And then toward the end of the year, we sort of finalize our difference between how we're doing and our unfunded needs. And so then we create a high priority unfunded needs list. Again, that's also available on our webpage at modot.org. We like to get that in the hands of the Missouri legislators so they can sort of quantify what's not being funded with our current revenue streams. All right, let's get into some of the projects. When I look back at 2020, I think it's notable, and I'm going to have another slide in a moment on this, but the largest project that we have statewide right now is a $246 million contract with Millstone, Weber, and Parsons. Many other contractors are involved, but this is a design build project on I-270 in North St. Louis County. Again, I'll talk more about it in a moment. We had in totality in 2020, and MoDOT had 65 active construction projects that were worth approximately, not counting the 246, were worth approximately $265 million. In design, when I look at this this fiscal 2021 that we're in now, currently we are working on 61 projects in design. Some of them we're designing in-house, some we're designing through consultant engineers, and those projects total $223 million. In the current STIP that we have, not the one that we'll be hopefully approving in May through July of this year, but the current STIP, we have 140 projects here in the St. Louis district funded at approximately $600 million. All right, I-270 North, that $246 million project, again, that's the largest project in our entire statewide transportation program right now. It is investing, improving the corridor, replacing aged infrastructure where we started that project in 2020. The construction work started in calendar year 2020. We're approximately 20% complete, which is where we need to be and expect to be right now. We are in the final stages of completing the final design because this is a design build where we're designing it as it's being built. And we're also finalizing a lot of really important utility relocations this fall and winter. So we're going to really hit the ground running in 2021 construction season. I did want to highlight here that in 2020, one of my highlights would be that the contractor did complete the Washington Elizabeth Bridge, and it includes a U-turn bridge. So now if you're heading eastbound on I-270, you'll be able to turn and go onto westbound 270 or onto Dunn Road without going through a single traffic signal. So that's a pretty big new feature. Lots of bridge was constructed there to make that happen. But there were many things that they accomplished in 2020, and throughout 2021, you're really going to start seeing the changes. If I move on, another project, if you've gotten out of your virtual office or your office and been around St. Louis, especially in downtown St. Louis, this is a project we've been working on for decades, and we're really thrilled that we have an awarded contract now that we kind of awarded in June of 2020, and we expect completion about a year from now. So what you're looking here is the yellow project along I-64 around 22nd Street in Jefferson, down by Union Station. The yellow project is MoDOT's project. And the purple project is the City of St. Louis's project. We've been, again, working with the city to make this happen. We are reestablishing the city grid, and we are improving I-64 access. So when we're done here, you will have complete access on I-64 at Jefferson. That's a big deal. We haven't had. It's been, for those of us that live and work in St. Louis, we know our way around, but it's pretty difficult. The only place you can get on and off I-64 is at Kings Highway. So this is closer to downtown proper where you'll have full access. Now this yellow and purple project is a commitment of the state and the city that ultimately helps secure the federal NGA site further north on Jefferson. Now, also, you might be thinking, well, wait a second. And if you've been down there and you've seen the work our contractor's doing or the work that the other contractor's doing, which works for the MLS. So within all that purple street grid there is the new MLS stadium and practice facility that's heavily under construction right now also. Again, that wasn't part of the plan that we had worked out. That's just the way it all worked out, and we're all thrilled and excited to see MLS come into St. Louis. All right, we have a project that we're working on, a design build project. Many of you probably need to get in the mix if you're not already. But we have a $62 million project coming up. We expect this is going to be a design build. We expect to award that project this summer in 2021. We expect that project to be complete by the end of 2023. This is on I-70 in St. Charles County. It is the oldest section of interstate in the entire nation. The project limits are specifically from Cave Springs on the west end all the way to Fairgrounds, which is close to Blanchette Bridge. So from Cave Springs to near Blanchette Bridge. And we are focused on this project to improve the safety and efficiency of the transportation network while supporting local connectivity. Very important project. You can learn more at our modot.org webpage. All right, I can't stop talking about projects without talking about one of the most expensive things that we're tackling, and one of the most difficult things that our MoDOT team's done, and wasn't even done by our predecessors before all of us that are in the positions now. It is MoDOT's St. Louis American Disability Act, or ADA, transition plan. We started this effort in 2007 by identifying where we were not compliant with ADA guidance. We are currently in our current program, we have $125 million worth of work over the next between now and 2027. And this is a list of some of the corridors. This is specifically upgrading our sidewalk and to ADA compliance. Again, this is a large chunk of money, and it is scattered throughout the St. Louis region. We're mostly done in the city of St. Louis with our responsibilities. So a lot of this is in St. Louis County. Lots of opportunities with lots of very important projects. Our teams are working really hard right now to design many of these projects. Some of them are out to bid and will be under construction this year. But again, we need to be done by the end of 2027. So this is a significant effort. Now, I mentioned this whole cycle, we go into what projects aren't funded. So you might think, well, we have a lot going on, and we do. And I'm really thrilled to see how hard our team works and our contractors and consultants work to turn those dollars that we have in the St. Louis region into results, but there are still unfunded needs. So on our current publicized unfunded needs list, that again is on our webpage at modot.org, we have the I-70 Wentzville curve. So out in St. Charles County in Wentzville, there's that Wentzville curve. I probably don't need to say much more. That railroad overpass that y'all sort of drive under and you think, oh, this probably isn't meeting today's needs. It's not. It's not funded yet. We have more investment that's needed on I-270 in North St. Louis County. Specifically, I'd like to highlight one of our unfunded needs on 270 North that's not in our current large project is additional lane in each direction between 367 and Riverview. You may or may not notice it if you drive that way, that I-270 in that section in North St. Louis County is only 2 lanes each direction. It cannot handle the traffic volumes. So we need to get that section widened. We also have I-55 corridor improvements from Route Z to 67 in Jefferson County. I don't need to say much. Any of you that drive it know it needs to actually be improved for additional capacity and safety. Then we have the interchange out at I-64 and 70 in St. Charles County. We have a lot of bridge needs there, but that also gives us the opportunity to improve that interchange and make it flow better. We have reoccurring traffic congestion and some safety issues or numbers that are higher than we'd like to see them out there. Also, I-64 in downtown in the city, we have lots of needs along there, lots of big bridges and stuff, but they always give us an opportunity to improve the system, not just take care of the system. And so specifically I-64 at Grand and Market in the city. And then we have Route 47 in Franklin County is on our unfunded needs list. I want to also focus a little bit as I get close to wrapping up here for you guys. So hopefully if you have comments and everything, you start putting them in there, because I would really love to have some engagement with you. But 2020, I mean, so many of us look back at the pandemic and what has it done good? I mean, what have we learned from it? Well, one of the things that we see that I really want to highlight today is the safety side of this. And so we saw a 12% increase. Over 100 additional people lost their lives on the transportation system, not just state-owned, but all the locally owned too. More than 100 additional people lost their lives on this transportation system in the state of Missouri in 2020. That's shocking. I mean, you can see the trend and you can see all of a sudden that growth. 989 lives lost in 2020. Now, when you dive into the details of that, despite the traffic volumes being significantly low due to the pandemic, we saw an increased number of fatalities. We saw most notable increases in unbuckle and speed related fatalities. We experienced significant increases in distracted drivers. I mean, it seems like to me, and when I talk to our team members that are out there every day working on the roads, they said we seem to have always had distracted drivers, but now everyone. They say we very seldom see a driver that's really doing a good job of driving. So it's very difficult as we telework and we work through this as humans. But when we're driving, we need to be focused on driving. Now, a positive note, in 2020, we did update our strategic highway safety plan. The Show Me Zero Driving Missouri Toward Safer Roads identifies 4 key areas to help everyone focus on occupant. And number 1 is occupant protection. So that's seatbelts, car seats, and helmets. We have number 2 is distracted driving. Number 3 is speed. And number 4 is impaired driving. So you can learn more at savemolives.com, but there's a lot of really good resources for us as individuals and for you and your team to also become aware of, but also take action on. Again, you can do it individually. It's not just written for policymakers like MoDOT or Missouri legislators. It's written for average human beings also to read the plan. SaveMoLives.com has that plan. All right, if I look a little bit deeper at this challenge of work zone crashes, what I see is 60% of the work zone crashes where somebody runs into our employees. So that happened in the St. Louis region 28 times in 2020. 28 times motorists drove into our protective equipment or a truck-mounted attenuator in the St. Louis region. That's 60% of the entire. I mean, it should never happen. Nobody, I don't believe anyone is waking up in the morning thinking today I'm going to run into that big yellow truck with flashing lights and a big cushion on it. But it happened 28 times in 2020, significantly too many. Another concern I have is the number of work zone crashes. And so in the St. Louis region, we see nearly 50% of all of the work zone crashes that are occurring in the state of Missouri. Way too many for we only have a third of the population. Why are we seeing 50% of work zone crashes? We have a third of the work zones. Why are we seeing 50% of work zone crashes? Another major concern I have. I think I wanted to point out 2 pedestrian fatalities. So we had 52 pedestrian fatalities that occurred in the St. Louis region. That's about 42% of the pedestrian fatalities statewide. We had a record number of pedestrian fatalities in St. Louis, not just on the state transportation system, but on the transportation system in totality in St. Louis and statewide ever in recorded history. And 52 of those 125 pedestrians were killed here in the St. Louis region. Now, you might think these are people walking down, walking on the road or walking on the sidewalk, whatever. They aren't always. You become a pedestrian once you leave your vehicle. So one of the things for you and your team to talk about when you have your safety conversations is to make certain that you understand when you get out of your vehicle. A lot of these pedestrian fatalities are individuals that might have been involved in a minor fender bender that as soon as that happens, they jump out of their vehicle. Just because that happened to you and the world stopped around you does not mean the world stopped. And so many of you in the construction arena know that, but you might want to keep reminding yourselves, your employees, and maybe your direct family members, don't become a pedestrian when everybody else is not a pedestrian. So stay in your vehicle and make sure that it's safe for you to get out. Transportation is a priority and a concern throughout the St. Louis district. So I wanted to also ask you one thing. I wanted to ask you, if you would, you can pull out right now your phone, or you can get on the internet and you can go to modot.org, and there's a webpage here, or you can just go modot.org. You can take the Buckle Up Phone Down Challenge. What does that mean when you get onto that Buckle Up Phone Down Challenge? It just asks you your name and email. We're not collecting any money or anything, but it's your individual pledge. Or you can have your business take that pledge, There's opportunity for businesses. Many of site member businesses could take the Buckle Up Phone Down pledge, or you could challenge your friend or family member or colleague to take a pledge. That pledge is just your commitment that you are going to put a buckle up every trip, and that you're going to put the phone down if you're the driver. That's what you can do. Take that pledge, do your part in making transportation safe and trying to save your life and the lives of others. Now, this is my final slide, so I have, before I take on questions and everything, I do want to say this is our MoDOT.org webpage. You can go to St. Louis, find out all sorts of great stuff about our projects and operations. You can go to our Instagram, Facebook, Twitter feeds, YouTube feeds, and then this is the number I'd tell you, program in your phone, 314-275-1500. That is our number that we answer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at the St. Louis Transportation Management Center. They can get you information on traffic. They can take your report on a down stop sign or whatever you see out there. So I would greatly appreciate if you all take the time, put that in your phone right now, call it whenever you have a question or something that we need to take action on. Thank you very much, and I'll turn it back over to Jeremy, and we can take some questions.
Awesome. Okay, Tom, thank you very much. And if no one has a MoDOT map app download on their phones, especially with the recent snows, that's a great tool to use to see, one, what are road conditions like, and two, what does it look like in real time? Because you can tap into those cameras. So that's an awesome tool to use. It's MoDOT Traveler Information Map. So let's talk about a couple questions. There's one question that came in, Tom. It says, last March, MoDOT put $360 million in projects on hold as motor fuel tax were expected to be down as much as 30 to 40%. In July, those projects on hold began to gradually be released for bid. Where's the department in terms of catching up on those projects?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think another thing, I tried to talk you through that planning process. And so we developed that 5-year program, and we do that this time of year. We turn it in, and then ultimately the Highway Commission, public comment in May, and the commission usually takes action by July. That, because of the timing of the pandemic, that process, the commission stopped that process. So we did not create a new 5-year program or update the 5-year program. So that's partially why some of those projects stopped. When you talk about why, and then why did the commission do that? Because many of us are looking at the health impacts, right, of the pandemic, but also financial impacts. And early on last March, our commission and our director McKenna projected that we would see a 30% decline in our traditional transportation revenue, which is fuel tax. And so far, we've been in that ballpark of that. So where do we stand on that now? We are putting all of that work back in, and then we're updating that STIP 5-year program. We expect to include all that money in there. So I would expect those $360 million of projects that were put on hold will be incorporated into the new STIP that everyone sees. It depends on if you're talking about which project of those projects, but they should all be back in there, and I hope that the commission approves them in July. Perfect. I think it goes into your shared work question. So if you want to ask that one next, I can sort of layer that into.
Let's go ahead and show this one. Can you talk about the shared work program that MoDOT implemented last summer and the sacrifice that MoDOT employees made and the money it saved MoDOT?
Yeah, so there's a lot of good information on our webpage about how we have managed through COVID, how it's impacted our projects and our people, the sacrifice of our people. But again, in March of 2020, when this started, we quickly started restricting our purchasing, everything we can control. Our goal was to try to reduce our expenditures by 30%. That was our goal almost immediately. How do we do that? When some of that CARES Act money came out for unemployment benefits, we took advantage of that. So we created what we called the shared work program. So many of our employees opted into that shared work program, which meant that they reduced their work by 20% and they received unemployment benefits for a 12-week period. Other employees, like myself, we just took a salary decrease and continued to work 40 plus hours a week. But all of our employees made a sacrifice in their financial impacts and everything. But when you total that together with our other decisions of delaying projects and reducing our expenditures everywhere we possibly could, we were able to withstand that. So it is with great pride that the entire team looks back at that fiscal year, the last fiscal year, and we were able to balance our books, right? So we did not have to carry debt over into the next fiscal year. That's a great thing. And now we're positioned to really do more than pay back, and make up the money that we didn't have last year. And where we stand right now is with the new COVID relief that was passed under President Trump and the previous Congress. Many of us saw it and heard about it as the most recent $600 payment. That includes $10 billion for DOTs. That's a first direct COVID stimulus going to departments of transportation. And Missouri is getting approximately $236 million of that $10 billion. We're going to put that to great use. So we're positioned very well to incorporate that into our upcoming project list, and we expect to have a larger project list as a result of that COVID relief money.
All right, thank you. Another question came in from Jeff Poulin. Is the Route 67 elevation project coming this spring?
Route 67 elevation project. Oh, you're talking probably in North St. Louis County, St. Charles County. That is this calendar year. I don't remember. I don't know if it's spring. I was thinking it was more of a summer bid. I don't think they're scheduled to, if I remember scheduling that one right, I think that it would maybe start this fall or next year. So I think you're talking about the Route 67 on your way to Alton, where it floods often.
Okay. All right. And I don't see any other questions in the queue, so, which you're hitting your time perfectly there, Tom. So thank you very much. And just to let all of our viewers know and site members know that site's working on a transportation funding bill. There's a lot moving in the Senate and the House. Chris Davis, our government affairs director, he's working on that diligently. There's actually a stakeholders meeting this evening in Jeff City that we'll be present at. And just pay attention to the newsletters, all the notices coming out from site on what you can do to help push that bill across the finish line and give MoDOT the much needed funding that they need. Because while they're good stewards of money, and of their money and the taxpayers' money, this is very, very much needed to, one, rebuild our roads and bridges, but two, maintain the office personnel and staff that you have and the equipment that you guys will need as well. So, Tom?
Yeah, I thank you very much, Jeremy, and everyone. Thank you for the time today. I hope I provided some value to you. And I really appreciate the ongoing partnerships with so many of the site members and your agencies. Really, you guys are essential in helping MoDOT accomplish our mission of taking care of and operating in Missouri's transportation system. So have a great expo, and thank you for the invitation today.
Awesome. Thank you, Tom. Appreciate it. And up next, we'll have Rick Eastman from Ameren, and we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we'll jump into Ameren's power grid, an important topic right now. Thank you very much.